So, hello everyone, I'm Santhosh, and today I will be talking about the rogue wireless devices and the countermeasures that we can actually take to protect our network from these kinds of threats. So, let's start with the introduction. So, what exactly are rogue wireless devices? These are unauthorized or malicious wireless devices connected to a network, often introduced by an attacker. So this can actually pose a significant security risk by intercepting data, disrupts, disrupts, disrupting network operations, or even launching like some sophisticated attacks like the man in the middle attacks and etc. So let's actually discuss about the type of let's actually discuss about the types of rogue wireless devices. So there are several kinds of rogue wireless devices, and the first one we actually have is the misconfigured wireless devices, which are usually the poorly configured devices, and these kind of poor configuration actually leads to some kind of security gaps which can be exploited by the attacker. And then we do have the some kind of uh, vulnerable IoT devices which can again be exploited uh, by the hacker and others. And then we do have the rogue access point, which are unauthorized APs set to mimic the legit ones and trick the users into connecting. And then we do have rogue clients, which are unauthorized devices that access the network without permission. And then we do and the last one that we will be discussing about is the evil twin APs, which are the fake networks designed to look like the trusted networks. And what they do is they just mimic like the legitimate networks, and the attack is then carried on. Let's go to the next one. So, what are all the kinds of risks that is actually posed by the rogue devices? So, the first one, as we can see here, the rogue devices poses several security risks. They can intercept data, and which can actually lead to sensitive information being stolen, and then they can also disrupt services by actually launching denial of service attacks. Additionally, attackers can use these devices to inject malware into the network, which could compromise the data and the critical systems. Rogue devices can even produce rogue devices can even produce a backdoor for the attackers to gain unauthorized access to the network. So, what are all the countermeasures that we can take in order to protect ourselves from these kinds of attacks? So, these includes implementing, as we can see, this includes implementing wireless intrusion detection system, prevention system, strong access control policies, regular network audits, encryption, employee training, device handling, monitoring incident, and so let's actually discuss about each point in detail. So, wireless intrusion detection and the prevention system actually plays a critical role in defending us against the rogue devices. So the wireless intrusion detection system helps to detect the unauthorized devices by monitoring the wireless traffic and then flagging the suspicious ones, whereas uh, prevention the prevention system goes a further step above and actively prevents these rogue devices from actually connecting to the network. And then we do have strong access control policies that ensures that only the authorized devices can connect to the network. So one such authentication thing that we can take is the 802.1x authentication, which validates the users and devices before granting access. In the same way, the MAC address filtering can also limit some devices, though it isn't foolproof, since the attackers can also spoof MAC addresses. And then we do have the regular network audit. So in order to keep the rogue devices in check, we need to do continuous regular network audits. These audits helps us to identify the unauthorized devices and also helps us to prevent the harm. We can just do some penetration testing and other kind of testing in order to keep on with the audit. And in the same way, we do have encryption and secure communication. So we can use some secure encryption protocols like WPA3, and we can also use virtual private networks or VPNs, which will help us to stay secure and help us in preventing the remote connections and attacks. And we do have the other methods to actually prevent these attacks. So we do have the employee training and awareness, where we will be training the employees to actually, we will be educating the employees, and we will also be training them against these kinds of attack. We do have device hardening. So basically, device hardening ensures that all the IoT devices, routers, access points are actually secured by disabling unused services and by actually changing their default passwords. So the architecture usually used here in general is called the zero trust architecture, and where basically the no device is automatically trusted. Like they will be going through some kind of a checking phase, for example. So we do have the monitoring and incident report. So continuous monitoring will be done, and if at all some kind of an attempt to attack happens, the incident will be reported. So the organization can have a better look at it. And then so let's just discuss about an example of such an attack that has happened in this world. So a real world example of how rogue devices can lead to some kind of breach is actually 2013 uh, Target's data breach. So actually Target is a very big chain in United States. And what happened is the attackers used a third party contractors poorly secured network to actually enter into the target's internal system. Although not directly related to rogue access point, this kind of breach highlights how weak security on connected devices can actually expose an entire network. And yeah, this is it. Thank you from my side. And there we mark the end of this presentation.